Hello girls and boys, thanks for tuning in and welcome to my annual World of Warships video. Today we are in the American Tier 10 destroyer gearing, but be advised, the gameplay you are about to see is from September, so no new fancy water graphics yet, and luckily also no submarines. Apart from that, I'd say it's a relatively quote-unquote normal game. The matchmaking gods were pretty kind that day because there are also a few unfortunate tier 8 ships in the lineup which we will happily bully. As usual, let's start with my commander build and my upgrades. I've actually built my gearing for guns rather than torpedoes, and I even took radiolocation to emphasize my DD hunter role. Of course, gearing used to be the original DD hunter in the game, but that was more than 5 years ago, and neither did time go easy on gearing's traditional role, nor her in-game appearance. Oh boy, that model is definitely in need of some more polygons and sharper textures. Hopefully we'll get an improved version by the middle of next year, as announced in the recent Q&A on the official WoW's Discord server. Anyway, I can totally understand anyone who's not keen on playing gearing as sort of a gunboat. Nowadays there are definitely a lot of other DDs that are better suited for that role. But since I have a couple of different gearing commanders and I was kinda bored, I decided to give it a go. However, both torpedo types gearing can equip are pretty powerful, and her Mark 17 torpedoes in the 2x5 setup are arguably the best torpedoes at tier 10, with a perfect blend of remarkable range, individual damage output, which by the way amusingly is exactly 1 Shimakaze's worth of HP without survivability expert. They have good stealth and a respectable reload, so I would usually recommend to invest your commander points and upgrades into her torpedoes instead of her artillery, because those 5-inch guns are nothing to write home about. Gearing can also mount the Mark 16 Mod 1 torps as found on Fletcher, which reload quicker and do more damage, though their range is only 10.5 kilometers, so you'll find yourself more often within the reach of Russian radar, and even ships like Des Moines only have a 0.5 kilometer gap to close to spot you with the press of a button if you dare to torp them. So in summary, Mark 17s are the more noob-friendly version with great zoning potential due to their range, while Mark 16 Mod 1s are more of a high-risk, high-reward option. I would say that the lesser range torps do complement the gunboat playstyle a little bit better, so it's kind of an oversight that I equipped the Mark 17s here. But enough of the theory crafting, we've already lost our first destroyer in the Alpha Cap to an airborne torpedo of all things. Of course, the enemy Moskva is on my flank, so I can't really advance further down the 9 and 10 line, but we did spot the Östergötland in the Bravo Cap and got a few resets on her. Overall, we got a pretty good spawn for a destroyer on Greece, because there's a wide patch of open water and a huge gap between the islands of the Bravo and Charlie Cap, which is one of the few openings for torpedoes this map offers. So I'm actually kinda glad that I equipped the long-range torpedoes this time. Here are the torps of the Östergötland. We easily dodge them, unlike the Missouri, who's about to eat 2 of our own torpedoes. But you do remember that there were even more torps in the water briefly before we spotted the set of the Swedish DD, right? With the enemy gearing sitting in Alpha, I know it has to be the Neustra Shimi lurking around here, and if I get the chance to fight her up close, I will happily take it. Moskva's also backing up, which gives me a bit of leeway, but I'm gonna closely observe the bearing of radiolocation, because I have a sneaking suspicion that the Russian destroyer is trying to flank my team, which is ultimately confirmed by the sudden turn of the RL indicator. Truth be told, apart from that suspicion, I would not have investigated the 10 line. Without radiolocation pointing in that direction, in my opinion, solely based on her last torpedo spread, I couldn't draw any conclusions about her exact whereabouts. But it turns out she's actually trying to sneak past me, so in this instance, radiolocation really paid off. Admittedly, I usually tend to underestimate it and opt for commander skills that allow me to put out more immediate damage, but every so often it can be a real game changer. Thankfully our midway is paying attention to my pings on the minimap and forces the Noizrashimi to blow her smoke prematurely. I would have preferred to fight her not exactly at point blank range because of the obvious torpedo threat, but maybe she'll leave the smoke soon before I get within assured detectability range. We are about to find out, one way or another. Noizrashimi has superior ballistics in comparison to gearing and an unusual super heal, but her actual gun DPM is pitiful, and by allowing me to get this close, she's shooting herself in the foot. A defensively played, kiting Noizrashimi should be able to outtrade a gearing with ease, but her overly aggressive positioning resulted in a dead end, surrounded by 3 ships and carrier planes right on top of her. I'm stressing this because it's obvious that she also picked me up on radio location a good while ago, and there's little excuse for getting caught in a position like that, when you could see it coming a mile away. You can witness my superior DPM here, gearing gunboat build OP confirmed. The Noizra does prolong the inevitable a little bit by going back into her smoke screen, which is basically her only chance to at least trade with me, because her torpedoes can turn this engagement into an even playing field if I'm not careful. I think most people build Noizrashimi for torpedoes because the big streamers tell them they should, so her torp reload is usually really fast. Personally, I find it boring to play her like a torpedo boat and also use the gun mode build on her with MBAA and without CE, but there's a point to be made that this playstyle is also boring. Anyway, we managed to kill her without eating her torpedo because I did hit the brakes and swung the rudder as hard as possible. The moment she died, it would have been rather embarrassing to end up as a flash wound achievement in such a one-sided fight. Sadly, my team is struggling a little bit on the other side, and we lost our Slava while I was busy dealing with the DD. Now, it will take me quite some time to get back to the action, though I still believe it was necessary to take care of the Noizrashimi. Our next target is probably going to be the Montana close to the Charlie cap. She seems to be pushing and will be occupied fighting our Montana, which makes her an ideal target. Luckily, the Moskva is hanging really far back because of our Monty sitting in the middle of the map, so we can get relatively close for our torpedo attack. Still, I decide to launch my torpedoes already, because the earlier they are in the water, the earlier they may hit. Time seems to be running out for our Montana, and maybe we can somehow save her. I even start gunboating a few moments later. By giving away my position like that, I'm of course ruining my chances to land my torpedoes, but I was hoping to draw some attention away from my battleship. The enemy BB doesn't care though, her secondaries are opening up, but as long as she doesn't turn her main guns towards us, I don't see a reason to smoke up, and I reckon we can tank a few secondary hits. My first set of torps is completely missing, the second set does look a little bit better. Our midway is also going for the Montana, and with that much focus fire it should only be a matter of seconds until she goes down. But unfortunately it's too late for our Monty, so we trade one tier 10 BB for another. What to do next? The logical choice would be going towards the middle and help our team defend the Bravo cap, and initially that was my plan. However, I'm a little bit confused by my radio location indicator, as it looks like the Östergötland is possibly trying to flank us, just like the Noizrashimi did earlier. In hindsight, I have to admit, turning around like this seems to be a little bit silly, but I think I wasn't really aware of how recent the last known position marker of the Östergötland on the minimap was, and also the bearing of radio location doesn't necessarily indicate that she is coming my way, so I might be wasting precious time here, but I really want to make sure that she doesn't sneak behind our lines and kills our CV. You have to keep in mind that radio location is far from being completely accurate when it comes to the bearing of the nearest enemy ship, and I'm sure you've noticed this as well. I think it just splits the 360 degrees around you into 16 sectors relative to your ship, so the displayed direction is always only a rough estimate, and it wouldn't be the first time I'm being fooled by the indicator, because I really don't use the skill that much. At least we know that there is someone more or less directly in front of us, and who could it be if not the Östergötland? So I'm just gonna sail towards the indicator in a straight line and see what we will find. Conveniently, even if we don't catch the Swedish destroyer, we can take the Charlie Cap while we are at it, so our little endeavor hopefully won't be completely in vain. Surprisingly, the Östergötland reveals herself without our intervention. She's shooting into the water to see if someone's close enough to detect her. A pretty smart move, so she knows she is being pursued. Now I could open up on her, maybe exchange a few HE volleys, but first I'm sailing towards her while she's sailing away, so the shell travel time would definitely be in her favor, and it would likely be an unfavorable trade for me. And second, I simply don't want to appear on the minimap, so I don't give the Moskva an immediate reason to turn back towards her home cap, or alert the CV to send some planes. Now I'm really curious whether the Östergötland will be waiting for me around that island or not. Mentally I'm prepared for a fight, so I guess we have to wait and see. Radio location should give me a rough idea of where she's going, so hopefully I won't get deathstruck when I come around that corner. By the way, the enemy gearing and our lightning are still hugging that island in the Alpha Cap, believe it or not, but they have been doing this for the last 4 minutes straight. So I think it's safe to say that we need a DD player who's acting proactively, and if I die here it would probably mean game over for my team. Still not really sure what to expect when I pass that island. On the one hand, the Öster could be sitting there right next to it, waiting to ambush me. On the other hand, unlike me, she does not have radio location, so I doubt she knows where I am, or maybe she just doesn't care. My intention was to come around the corner and steam towards her with a hard turn towards my port side, but then I changed my mind in the last second because I was afraid of getting YOLO'd, and as you can see in the end my indecisiveness resulted in being basically fully broadside while in the possible path of preemptive torps, the worst imaginable scenario, but it turns out the Östergötland just vanished and I was overthinking it all the way. Torpedoes are out towards the Monarch, although I didn't compensate for the fact that she obviously knows that a sneaky DD is next to her. She cancelled her turn and is now going into the complete opposite direction. That's a bummer because all my torpedoes are going to miss. However, she is low enough that I might be able to kill her with guns only, given the fact that her front turrets are still facing the wrong way. I'm only waiting for the capturing process to be finished because it would be pretty dumb to risk being reset, but once it's done we are opening up. Now I don't think the Goliath is close enough to spot the Monarch for me if I smoke up. There are probably even islands obstructing the line of sight. So I need the Monarch to return fire once before I can smoke up, and hopefully I will be able to finish her in that brief time window of her extended detectability range without having to leave my smoke screen. She still hasn't fired back yet because her turrets aren't ready, so I keep slowing down and accelerating erratically to make my movement as unpredictable as possible for the inevitable salvo, and also because the Moskva that's currently dealing with our Goliath could technically hit me with her back turret. Still no retaliation, her hit points are going down so fast that I'm contemplating whether it's worth smoking up at all, but my credo has always been better safe than sorry, and we still have 3 charges of our smoke generator left, so I opt for the safe play. Surprisingly, the Monarch did fire AP, although she had all the time in the world to switch to HE, and a well-aimed HE volley could have snapped me in half, but oh well, I couldn't know this beforehand, and I think we still saved some HP from evading her front turrets, and we finally get the kill. With 3 out of 4 caps, my team has decent cap control. Unfortunately, for every enemy ship we kill, we lose one of our own ships, and that pesky Moskva simply refuses to die, which is kinda unfortunate for me and my little gearing. It looks like our carrier is going for a drop on her, but she just needs to go forward to put an island between her and the torps. So she's still not going down. Once again, I've taken myself out of the action for a considerable amount of time, First it was the Neustra that interfered with my plans, and then I went chasing the Östergötland. At least we got a kill and a cap from that little detour, so it wasn't too bad, but somehow I feel like I've never been where my team needed me the most. I hope I can make up for it now by steaming towards Bravo at full speed, and maybe I'll finally catch the Swedish destroyer. Not much I can do apart from crossing the map and watching the Moskva actually healing. I launch my torps towards the last known position of the Hakuyu. I doubt she's still sitting there, but I don't have a better target anyway. We lose our lightning, and a few moments later our Drake also goes down. I'm starting to feel a little bit worried about the outcome of the match, but luckily the lightning can at least trade with the Moskva. The enemy Harlem is capturing Alpha right now, and the Pommern is pushing down the one line into our spawn. Our midway is currently turning away from her, but I don't know how healthy she is, and given how bad midway's concealment usually is, she's probably spotted and under fire. We also have one BB left, the Friedrich, that just got into my render range, and oh boy, she's also very low, and that's mildly concerning because she will definitely have to deal with torpedoes from the Öster very soon. At least her hydro is active. This is just one of those moments where you watch the minimap in agony while your hands are tied and you hope for the best while expecting the worst. The Swedish GD actually started shooting the Friedrich in the open, presumably either to bait the Friedrich to turn into her torps or because she already knows she's going to miss all of them. A desperate move, but given the circumstances, absolutely understandable. However, the moment she notices that the Bravo cap is flipping, she needs to turn around and let her CV finish my Friedrich, because it's glaringly obvious that the enemy gearing that I am right next to her. Let the Hakuyu finish the battleship, then 4v1 the carrier, and in the end you only have a gearing to catch and retake Bravo so that the caps are at least even and the game is perfectly winnable for the red team. Fortunately for us, the Östergötland seems to be completely oblivious of our presence, so as soon as we get a clear line of sight we start engaging her and can take her down with a few volleys while she's busy running at our FTG. The Friedrich does even survive for now, but I think it's only a matter of seconds until the Harlem or the carrier finishes her eventually. But even though the game is going to be a 2 vs 3, no, hold on, actually for a brief moment it was a 3 vs 2 because the Pommern died before our Friedrich. Well, I think now it's mandatory that we go for the Kraken. Technically, with only 3 minutes left on the clock, I could hide from the Harlem and planes for almost the entire remainder of the match. But that would be pretty boring, so we will of course run at the Harlem and try to win even harder. I guess what she probably wants to do is to keep that island in the cap between her and me and the Midway's planes, so that she has a chance of capping Bravo. Thus I try to torpedo the gap in a way that forces her to turn towards me, and as soon as the Midway drops some fighters for spotting, I start smoking up and shooting. Well, to be fair, I started shooting before I fully slowed down, definitely a sign of sloppiness and greed, and honestly pretty stupid. But I promise it gets even better. We are fully concealed now and the Harlem had to turn towards us and she's taking quite some damage. However, her airstrike is going to despawn the fighters that were providing vision for me, and before we can kill her she actually catches us with her hydro. Now, it's not the end of the world, since she's already so low that we should have been able to kill her with blind fire alone if it wasn't for her heal keeping her afloat for a little bit longer. And of course we could see her again once she fired her guns, but if she had HE loaded for those 2 volleys and aimed her airstrike more accurately, this could have ended really badly for me. The truth is, this match happened less than 2 weeks after the Dutch cruisers left early access, and at that point I hadn't really touched them at all and wasn't aware that they can equip both defensive AA fire and hydro, so yeah, a little almost costly oversight on my part. Anyway, we did secure the Kraken in spite of that mild brain fart, so I'm happy, and I think overall We contributed to our team's success. Now there's only the Hakuyu left, but unfortunately there's not enough time left on the clock to get kill number 6, and all I will be doing for the last minute of the game is dodging planes. I think we can accelerate the footage here because that experience is already insufferable enough if you have to do it yourself and you don't really need to watch someone else enduring it. So, that was my gearing game. Still a decent ship when no Marceaus, Smolans or Ragnars are around, but let's be honest, she has been power crept quite a bit and I don't enjoy playing her that much anymore, because you feel really dependent on the matchmaker and can only hope to not get thrown into a game with overtuned DDs in the opposing team. Speaking of Ragnar though, I'm planning to upload a good game I've had recently in her before Christmas, so stay tuned and thank you very much for watching. I hope to catch you next time, see you soon and take care. She seems to be pushing and will be occupied fighting our Montana, which makes her an bleh. My first set of torps is completely missing. The second set does look a little.